It's day 2 of the trading week before Christmas. Good morning, good evening. Wherever in the world you're watching from, is Business Morning come to you live from Channels HQ right here in Lagos. Let's get the top stories that set your agenda now. We'll see oil prices traded mix today as tankers shun the Red Sea on the back of heightened attacks by Iran-backed Houthi militants, which have disrupted international shipping routes. Global benchmark Brent traded 0.14% higher at $78.06 a barrel, while the U.S. WTI crude slipped about 0.17% to $72.35 per barrel. In recent weeks, Yemen's Houthi rebels have launched a series of drone attacks against commercial ships crossing the Red Sea. Major shipping lines and all transporters suspended travel through the Red Sea. That was last week, Friday, after more than a dozen vessels came under attack since the start of the Israel-Hamas war in early October. We'll get a sense of what's driving sentiment in the oil market and what to expect going forward. Let's get a check on the grain market now. We see Chicago soybean futures edge lower today, shedding some of the previous session's gains on improved weather in top exporter Brazil. Although strong demand for U.S. exports curbed the losses. Wheat gained around recovering from Monday's deep losses with prices under pressure from ample Russian supplies, while corn ticked higher. Wheat WV1 added about 0.7% to $6.21 for a quarter of a bushel, and the corn CV1 gained 0.2% at $4.78 a bushel. And we see the 19th edition of the annual Thanksgiving dinner of EMSA Pharmaceutical Industries Limited is taking place in Lagos, with guests joining the team to appreciate God for the growth recorded by the company over the years. The founder and group managing director of EMSA, Dr. Stella Okoli, attributes their successes to God and the support the company has received from partners, staff and associates. Guests present included the first ladies of Lagos and Ogun State. Take a listen.
Guests arrived Landmark Event Center in Lagos for the 19th annual Thanksgiving dinner of EMSA Pharmaceutical Industries Limited with the theme, Thanksgiving, Our Joyful Lifestyle. The venue, decked with a touch of elegance, sees attendees add flair and color to the charming atmosphere. It's a night of praise, worship, music, dance, and Thanksgiving. The chairman of the occasion begins with a welcome address acknowledging the growth EMSA has experienced over the years and leaves a word of advice for the federal government.
We'll use this opportunity to appeal to the federal government to do whatever is necessary to encourage local industries in Nigeria.
In her welcome address, the group managing director and CEO of EMSA Pharmaceutical, Dr. Stella Okoli, expresses gratitude to God and all who have stood by them.
It is because of all of you that support us, all of you that make sure that, well, you patronize us. So we mark another year in our book. This is the 19th year of EMSA Thanksgiving.
As for the First Lady of Lagos State, the need for Thanksgiving cannot be overemphasized.
To accept the presence of God, we must exhibit a heart of thanksgiving and praise. Maybe that is one of the secrets of EMSA. She doesn't forget to thank God every year.
Former Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, who is the pastor of RCCG Olive Parish, Okechukwu Enelama, urges all to be thankful and grateful always.
Those who say there is no God, you know what, they are right. There's no God in their lives. In the sense that, like, they are not seeing the wonders of His grace. But for those who look for it, they see.
The event climaxes with the cutting of the Thanksgiving dinner cake, followed by the long service award and recognition. With the event concluded, the chairman board of directors of the company leaves a parting shot.
The Nigerian public can rest assured that we are a very quality organization and we continue to put quality first and then affordability next.
With their new ultra-modern WHO-compliant pharmaceutical factory opened in Shagamu, Ogun State, EMSOR seems poised to provide unlimited wellness in Nigeria and beyond.
To our first conversation, we see earlier this year the reports the poultry industry in Nigeria was teetering on the verge of collapse. With the Naira redesign policy, rising prices of maize and other matters weighing on the price of eggs to consumers. Consumers having to pay so much for eggs, but we see the producers were even having to pay so much to get most of those products out. So, joining us now for this conversation is Engineer Idowu Ashanuga, Chairman, Poultry Association of Nigeria, Ogun State, joining me right here in the studio. Good morning. Great to have you.
Yeah, good morning, Ladi. It's a pleasure to be with you once again.
It's great to have you. And definitely, before the show started, we're making reference to 2023. So it's been an incredible year.
Absolutely.
You know, some have enjoyed it. Some have gotten the bitter stick, of 2023. And looking at your industry at this time, we've had from cash scarcity in the first quarter of 2023, which seems to be creeping up again, gradually at this time. Weak demand for eggs. It looks like 2023 was a tough year for your industry.
Ladi, to say tough is an underestimation.
I think I need a bigger word.
Absolutely. It's an absolute disaster for us in the poultry industry in Nigeria. And unfortunately, from the indicators that we're seeing, things does not seem to be getting any better. Of course, from the Naira redesign situation in the first quarter, that brought us to our knees completely, because most of my members became charity organizations. They were giving out eggs for free, something that was costing them so much to produce. And of course, the effect of that, as we're just about to recover from it, then came the subsidy removal. And I can recall very vividly, around July, August this year, one of our key inputs, which is maize, went as high as 700,000 naira per ton. The honest truth is, at 700,000 naira per ton for maize, it is just impossible for you to do poultry business. And most of our members had to downsize. For me personally, I have to reduce 60% of my stock, lay off my workers, and of course, I have bank facility that I need to pay. And the honest truth is, you cannot even project anymore. You can't say, okay, this is what 2024 is going to look like. And our inability to even plan or forecast or even prepare cash flow projections that can be reliable is making a complete mockery of the entire poultry business. And unfortunately, when I looked at the budget of Nigeria, for 2024, it shows very clearly that either government is clueless or insensitive, or they are not just in tune with reality. Because to budget 262 billion for 223 million people, of which only 252 billion of that value is for capital expenditure, means it's either government is clueless, insensitive, or completely out of tune with reality.
And talking about reality at this point, if you look at the poultry price movement there, that slide, you see just for the price of eggs there. If you put up that slide, you see eggs there, 2,100 naira in January. That's how we started the year. December, fast forward, 2,400 naira. That's about 14% up, and consumers having to, deal with this at this point. Live broiler, that's up about 11%. Dressed broiler, 2,500 from 2,000 naira in 2023. Well, let's look at your inputs. At this time, let's look at the inputs. You can move the slide to the inputs now. Let's see what the average farmers had to put in at this point. So let's look at feed now. See the layer feed, 10,500 from 6,450 in January is up 63%. That's what you feed the birds.
Absolutely.
At this point. So how have you been able to...
You see, Ladi, the honest truth is most of us operating the business today, as far as I'm concerned, is like we are charity organizations. Okay, because it's just barely impossible for you to make profit. If you look at those numbers that you've shared, is glaring that Nigerians are not really paying any significant difference in terms of money they need to take off their pocket.
You've been able to keep the prices quite stable.
Absolutely. When you compare our prices with products like rice, rice has gone from about 30,000 to about 60,000, which is almost 100%. So that tells you very clearly that because our products are perishable and because the bulk of these costs that we have to take in cannot be passed on to the consumers, we are at the mercy of Nigerians, who of course you can't blame because they have low purchasing powers as well. So that is the scenario, and that is why for our own industry, there is a need for government to look at us in a special manner and see how they can quickly intervene, because that sector of the livestock value chain is on the brink of collapse.
And looking at the 43 items that were made to access the forex market this year, after the ban, for many years, I know maize and corn are part of those 43 items that can now, get forex now to import.
Like you and I know, is forex accessible? Can you walk into the bank and get forex?
Well,
you can't.
I've not walked into the bank.
The truth of the matter is you can't. Okay, and then this government has even liberalized the forex. But back
is there any change, with unbanning those items?
There's no change, laddie. And even to bring maize into Nigeria, first, the international market price is not friendly either. It's about $250 US. When you look at the devaluation in Naira, which in this year alone, the value of Naira has been bleeded by about 500 Naira. So when you look at that, and then you look at the landing cost of the maize you're importing, it's still almost the same. So importation is no longer a viable option. 2-3 years ago, of course, what we usually use to checkmate the local prices when they begin to go up is import. But today that is no longer possible. And to worsen the situation, laddie, today Nigerian maize is filtering into the neighboring countries. And then some people are even looking at possibility of exporting. And the same thing goes to soya. Our soya is being exported while there is food insecurity in Nigeria. So government, I don't know, maybe they are just completely clueless. In a situation whereby your people cannot feed, there's a need for you to ban outrightly the exportation of those products. I know Dangote mentioned this last year, to President Buhari, and there's an urgent need to ban the export of maize and soya from Nigeria, because we don't even have adequacy in those two commodities, and we are exporting. And what is driving export is the devaluation of Naira. So when you look at the situation, that policy cannot give any significant impact, because one, forex is not accessible. There's no longer the CBN window where you get forex for 450 while the black market is 750. All of those windows have been closed by this new administration. So there's really no serious impact.
Because I remember I saw headlines earlier. Countries like Egypt and India banning export of onions.
Yes. Any serious government, laddie, the first thing you need to, when you look at the SDG goals, it's not mockery for them putting zero hunger at number 2. After poverty reduction, which is number 1, the next thing is zero hunger. Because I'm a Yoruba man, and there's a adage in Yoruba that says that once you remove food insecurity off the table, you've reduced poverty significantly. Okay, so in the case of Nigeria, the focus on food, food and nutrition is almost unavailable. Government is not paying any attention to food, both at the federal, at the subnational, and the local government. At the local government level, food and nutrition policy implementation is even zero. That's how bad the situation is.
But I know earlier this year, the president did take some actions, regarding food supply. We know some farmers got grains, at some point.
Laddie,
for you, haven't you received any grains?
Laddie, the emergency declaration on food that the president did, it's a drop in the ocean. And let me put this into perspective. Ogun State is the largest egg-producing state in Nigeria. Okay, my governor gave the entire association 200 metric tons of maize. This is something that a single feed mill in Ogun State will use in a day. That's a drop in the ocean. Okay, even the Buhari administration, as bad as we could say they were, okay, in 2021, the CBN had to come in and intervene, okay, by giving the Poultry Association about 30,000 metric tons of maize. That is what we're talking about, not 200 metric tons.
So the leadership of the CBN, the former leadership of the CBN were able to come through?
Yeah, they came through. They came through, although not very significantly, but it was still better than nothing, though. Because my state I know we got about 1,300 metric tons, okay, of maize as at that time. You know, so talking about food security, emergency on food insufficiency, and then you're giving me 200 metric tons of maize. Come on, that's a drop in the ocean.
So at this point, you're telling me that this government, you know, it's been barely how many months? You know,
7
this
months.
time, about 7 months.
Yeah.
You've not seen any, you know, movement, you know, towards your industry, even from the subnational level. You did mention Ogun State.
Okay, that for Ogun State, my governor budgeted 14 billion for agriculture in Ogun State. That is 2% of his budget. When you look at the Maputo Declaration, which was done about 20 years ago in 2003, Nigeria is signatory to that declaration, and they all agree that 10% of the national and subnational budget should go to agriculture. You know, the federal government did about 1.13% in their 2024 budget. Ogun State governor did 2%. And then I saw my governor with Sheung last month bragging that Ogun State is the largest egg producing state and chicken. But then I've not even been able to see him to sit down and see how we can discuss the national policy on food and nutrition.
Well, your association, have you been reaching out to most of
Of course, we've reached out, but then I've not been able to sit down with my governor and his agricultural team to discuss poultry in Ogun State. That's how disconnected, you know, governance is from the private sector. And we are the drivers of the economy. We provide employment. You know, contrary to that, you know, Ladi, it will shock you that I've been getting reports from my members that the Ministry for Finance in Ogun State has been chasing them around and threatening them with closure of their facility when these people can barely make profit and are almost running a charity organization. We're not making profit, and you're still chasing us.
Because of some of the loans that...
absolutely. The loans are there. Now, Ladi, let me put it into perspective for you. If you need to move a truck from the north, okay, to Ogun State, for instance, you need 1.6 million naira for a 30-ton truck. Off it, that's about 50 naira, okay, on every kilo of maize that you want to bring in. That's 50 naira gone. That's what we're talking about.
But you know, this government is just 7 months old, you know, and definitely this government is dealing with a lot, you know, right now. But not to say that food is not important, because at the end of the day, we all need to eat.
Ladi,
should we give them some time?
Ladi, you said you declared emergency.
Yes.
What does that mean? That means there's crisis. Okay? So if there's crisis, I want to see you put your money where your mouth is. Okay? If there's crisis in a sector, and then the Ministry of Budget and National Planning, who are the custodian of the national policy on food and nutrition, it's under their purview. Okay? And then they are budgeting 362 billion for agriculture. And they are budgeting 3 trillion for security. And they are budgeting 1-point-something trillion for education and for health. If you eat good diet, Ladi, you wouldn't need to go to the hospital. You barely need to go to the hospital.
Because definitely,
you understand? Because
everyone is trying to get more spending when it comes to education and agriculture at this point. You want to see more.
You see, when you feed well, Ladi, you feed well, you place yourself on balanced diet, you'll be healthy. I remember when I was going to primary school, you know, in Chrisland and Okwebi stuff. I look forward to going to school because they give us fan milk, they give us pop-off, they give us serious meal in school. I look forward to going to school every morning. But today, you can't find that happening. The average school people, they have nothing to look forward to for going to school. Okay, Ladi, I'll tell you, I'm doing some CSR in my own little space. I give the school people around my community egg every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, that is when you get the highest enrollment in the school attendance. Because every child wants to take that egg.
People take food seriously, definitely. The stomach infrastructure is very important. We can't, deny that. But at this rate,
yes,
what would you like to see? Policy recommendation going into 2024 at this rate. And if we continue at this rate, where we are right now, what are you seeing in 2024?
Laddie, if you can just put up that one of the slides that I shared with you, where you see the policy, framework for food and nutrition in Nigeria,
right,
is one of the best in the world. I was doing my research, and I was like, okay, is it a policy problem? And then when I checked and I looked around, I found out that Nigeria has one of the best food policies in the world. Okay, and there is a National Council on Nutrition at the presidency, and they're supposed to meet biannually. The question is, are they meeting? If they are meeting, what are they discussing? Because we can't see traction. Fine, I can see some good moves by this new administration. But the critical thing they need to look at and focus on is food. Nigerians are hungry. And one of the best food items, when you look at their malnutrition stuff in that policy, they talked about nutrient deficiency. And egg is a complete meal. It has the essential minerals, it has vitamins, it has protein, and it has the cognition input that will help the school pupils to improve their memory.
we all need eggs, definitely.
You understand?
For balance.
So for government not to be looking at such a sector that even has a pull effect on all other sectors, when you look at the value chain of poultry, it's extensive. We are the key drivers for the maize producers. We are the key drivers for the soya producers. We're one of the key drivers for the wheat producers, because the wheat over, that is left out of their flour production comes to our industry. So we pull a whole lot. The feed millers, they produce feed for us. The hatchery operators, they produce day-old chicks for us. So when we go down, we're pulling quite a number of industry down.
And we don't need that industry to go down, definitely.
Absolutely. And then you have more unemployment, you have more insecurity.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the 3 trillion government is budgeting for insecurity will not be enough to handle security, because they need to. They need
your
more
industry
people.
Employs a lot of people at this
absolutely.
point. All right, thank you so much. It's great having this conversation with you. I'm definitely hoping for the best, going into 2024, and hoping we can see more spending, going into critical sectors and industries. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, lad.
Engineer Idowu Ashenuga, Chairman, Poultry Association of Nigeria, Ogun State. Thank you so much.
Thank you, laddie. It's a pleasure to be with you.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, Commodities Market Update is next. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning. All right, let's get a check on the oil market now. I see a lot of volatility in the oil market at this time. Let's bring in Oluwatomi Mayowa, Senior Analyst, Financial Derivatives Company. Great to have you. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry. Thank you so much for having me.
Good to have you. So oil prices seem to be rising again, at this point, but I guess that's good for oil benchmark in the budget there. Definitely we did cross below that.
Yes.
A little bit, but now we're on the rise again. That's good.
Yeah. I would say that currently it's quite difficult to predict. The global macroeconomic environment is actually quite difficult to predict now. Why am I saying this? Is because of the heightened geopolitical tension that we've seen. We've seen the Russia-Ukraine war, and now we're having the Israel-Hamas war. And we saw how what happened at the Red Sea, where containers were attacked, and that has diverted a lot of ships towards away from Israel. So there's a lot of uncertainty in the air, and also it's making it very difficult to actually predict what things will be. And we've even seen that has actually encouraged increased volatility in the market. However, we are seeing global institutions predicting oil price. Goldman Sachs has actually cut down its forecast for 2024 to by about 12% to $81 per barrel from about $92 per barrel. And we're also seeing Morgan Stanley predict the oil price is likely to average about $85 per barrel in 2024. Also, Bank of America has said oil price would actually average about $90 per barrel in 2024. So if you look at all of this, you'd see that there's still that bullish sentiment of that oil prices are actually going to increase, or should I say, stay above $80 per barrel in 2024. And that's because primarily because there's an expectation of a rebound in China's economy, and the supply cuts we've seen from Russia and from Saudi Arabia. So that is still guiding the sentiments in the market, but bringing it to Nigeria, talking about, first of all, I'll dimension my, what I want to say, that's the impact on Nigeria, looking at the impact on the revenue, the impact on deficits, and then the subsidies. First of all, I would say that Nigeria, the federal government has placed its budget, the benchmark for oil, at about $77 per barrel, and which, if you look at JP Morgan's estimate, Goldman Sachs estimate, and Morgan Stanley, it's quite above our budget estimate. But if you also look at our oil production, the benchmark for our oil production, which they're expecting about 1.78 million barrel per dollars. And if you look at our oil production currently, I think we produced about 1.3 million barrel. In the last 3 quarters, we produced an average of about 1.3 million barrel per day. So if you compare that, and then looking at the OPEC quota of about 1.5 million barrel per day, you'll see that we might likely see that shortfall in revenue in 2024. And then if there's a shortfall, definitely the government would have to fund that shortfall by borrowing in the capital markets, which we know that will push up interest rates and could also lead to crowding out effects in the private sector. So that's one. And then we also, if oil prices are projected to stay at above $80 per barrel, it also has an impact on the subsidy in Nigeria, because everybody it's quite clear that there's a subsidy on fuel, even though the government has said there's no subsidy. But we know, because we have diesel price trade at about 1,050 naira per liter, and then fuel price is just 600. So there's that 400 naira gap, because diesel price is a proxy of where the price of fuel should actually be trading at. Right. So basically, so it raises concern about subsidy and what the revenue picture will look like in 2024 actually.
Definitely, if the prices stay above the benchmark in the budget, hopefully the excess crude account can get some flows. But let's look at the our refining issues now. See, the Dangote refinery is set to receive a second cargo of crude oil tomorrow. What can we expect from this second delivery? Can I finally buy Dangote PMS at some point?
Well, I would say that the long-awaited Dangote refinery is actually close to its full operation. Looking at the first cargo of about 1 million barrel per day, 1 billion barrel, and then receiving another. We are expecting a total sum of about 5 cargoes, which would be about 5 million barrels in total. So we are expecting that the refined products will actually come into markets by January, next year. And so what's going to be the impact of this? First of all, we are going to see an increase in the supply of refined petroleum, and that will reduce, because it's being produced in Nigeria. It's going to reduce the downtime in the supply of the products. So you are going to get it at a faster pace compared to when it's being brought in from Rotterdam and all of those things. So we are going to see that reduction also in transportation costs and logistic costs. So that would actually reduce the landing cost of this refined petroleum product. However, you're going to ask me that if this is going to happen, then are we going to see a reduction in the price of fuel, for example? Or most of this refined product. Actually, we must understand that the transportation cost is just, is somewhat immaterial, in the total sum of the refined petroleum, refined products. It's somewhat immaterial. So you might just see probably 100 naira, reduction in the price. So
I'll take that definitely, Toby. At this point, I don't mind 100 naira reduction. Any reduction at this point,
so
take it.
It's really not, it's really because the where the point lies is the global, price of oil, because Dangote is going to be receiving this crude in, it's paying for it in dollars actually, not in nairas. So it's the global price of oil still to some extent, comes into play in terms of determining the costs. And so, definitely if the global price of oil increase, that will actually affect the price of refined petroleum. So that's, I understand that, but to some extent, you'd have to look at the other, the other things that goes into the production of this refined petroleum.
Even though Nigeria is an oil producer.
I would also want to point out the fact that, which it's not been, quite significant. People have not really recognized this, that, the proximity of the refinery, which is, actually helps to, because for example, now it's located in Ibejuleki, so it's sort of closer to, for example, Ijebu-Ode, to some towns, outside of Lagos. So those who have to, initially people have to go to Apapa, Tinkan, to take to fuel their tanks, and so the road between Apapa, to Shagamu and all of that is sort of congested. But now it's going to reduce, because you can now take from that Lekki road down to Ijebu-Ode, so it's sort of faster. So it reduces the congestion on the road. Now that, although we still see some imports, we still see some tanker go to Apapa, but that will be less now. Considering this coming into play.
All right, Tommy, before I let you go, very quickly now, it's the week before Christmas. What should we expect in the domestic food commodities market?
We're already seeing that price increase, definitely. A bag of rice that's the long grain, rose by 12% to about 67,000, naira per bag. And, that is really, food inflation is already at about 32%, came in November at about 32%. And like we should expect initially is that, at this November, at that time, we should see a sort of tapering in prices as a result of harvest period, but we didn't see that. And now that we are now going into the festive period, it's really going to also exacerbate price, because people will have to, demand, there will be increase in demand as a result of the festive period, which is the Christmas period. So that has actually pushed up prices in the market. So, however, for the tomatoes, for the pepper, we're actually seeing that stability in the price, because there's been increased supply as a result of the harvest period of those products. But we know that onions, still the price of onions remains elevated, and that's because of the increase in the global price of onions, which is incentivizing most people to smuggle out onions outside of the country, and then reducing the availability of that in Nigeria. Also, this is not the harvest period for onions, so that's why we're seeing the price increase, but that is significantly higher than what it was last year. So that incentive to smuggle it out is really, affecting the supply of onions, and then also the price. So basically, prices are already increasing. And when we go deep down into the weekend, it's going to be much more higher.
All right, bottom line, prices still rising, going to stay elevated into Christmas. Thank you so much, Tommy Maiwa, Senior Analyst, Financial Derivatives Company. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ladi, for having me.
All right, let's head to the markets now. It's the trading week before Christmas, and definitely everyone's expecting some kind of Santa rally, so that any will can actually give us something good. Maybe I'll come to your house and have that Christmas lunch or dinner at this point, because I'm sure you're going to be trading before that. make some profit.
Well, I'm not a trader.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm going to be trading. I'm just going to report the market and tell you what traders and investors are doing.
Fantastic.
But basically, you did talk about prices being elevated in the market. Commonwealth, Maiwa just did give that projection that my prices are going to be elevated in the food market. But we're going to be also seeing investors starting to cash out because, yesterday it closed at 0.02% at the equities market. And we see that negative market breadth in terms of, negative sentiments in terms of market breadth. That already shows that possibly, maybe it's going to close with a negative.
The holidays are coming. You want to take some money
They're
off
going to take some money and go to the market
right,
and keep those prices elevated because there's going to be demand, but is there going to be supply?
Well, hopefully there's demand, though.
Hopefully there's demand and not there's supply.
At this point.
So we did see the market closing in the green yesterday, but very marginal, 0.02%. We saw buying interest in Transco Hotel, which was up 9.4% yesterday, and Fidelity Bank also up 2.7%. All share index, as mentioned, higher to 0.02%, still at 72,000 level, crossing higher there, breaking more resistance level that we crossed in the 71,000 levels. And then we added just about 9 billion to the market cap yesterday. Still at the 39 trillion, but we're hoping it crosses to 40. That would be a nice Christmas, gift to the NGX. Now, let's look at the banking sector. Let's see how they performed yes. I mean, the stock market, we see the banking sector because it's in focus. We see that marginally, slightly up compared to what we had last week, 0.07% up. Consumer goods is down yesterday, industrial also in the marginal uptick level, and we also see insurance down. Oil and gas is also in the green, beginning to pick up now. We've seen it being on change for several days now, several trading sessions. Let's look at the top trades for yesterday. We see mutual benefits topping that chart, UBA following suit, and we see Transco Hotels doing the thing that we were going to be talking to. Abdulrashid Momo is the equity trader. TLW stockbroker is going to be breaking it down, how the movement of the NGX has been phenomenal thus far. We've seen the NGX breaking support levels at 70,742 and also breaking that last resistance level at 71,866. Abdulrashid Momo, if you're there, just want to say good morning. I'm sure you're happy. The market is doing well. It's good to have you on the show.
Thank you very much.
So let's just focus now on the banking sector. We're seeing that last week, in terms of the reports that you brought out, it emerged as the leader in the sectors, for all sectors. It had a gain of the index gain for that sector was 802.54. From 802, it rose to 858.79. That's representing a 7.01% increase. What do you see for this sector? It's very much approaching its third resistance levels of 888 points, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. As I said from my report over the weekend, the sector focus has been the NGX banking. Basically, from about in 2014, it hit an all-time high about 452, and in 2018, it hit about 630. So at the current rate is about 800 plus now. You still have about 880 to hit that level. So, and basically, why I'm watching the banking sector now, because when it comes to the Santa Claus rally, most activities are always on the banking sector. Even as we speak now, despite the fact that market is low now in terms of volume traded, you can see that the banking sector seems to be topping the chart in terms of volume as we speak. We're looking at Access, Zenith, UBA, then Stanbic, but this is still early trade for the day. We expect to see more of that in the afternoon trade. Well, basically, one thing that I need to show from the chart is I see it as it's a story, you understand. You can see those resistant lines from 2014, 2018, and approaching 2023. And if you want to compare this chart with NSESI, which has made all-time high, we now start comparing stocks that have not really reached their 2008 levels. We'll be looking at stocks like major Access Bank. We'll be looking at UBA. We're looking at Zenith. We're looking at Fidelity. I expect more rallies to. I expect more bullish trends to actually happen in those sector. But basically, as I said, the way the market is now, it's what we call the staircase formation, where prices do higher highs and higher lows. I remember Ladi saying market might get to about 80,000 points. It's, as I say, is slow and steady. The way the market is now, the market is good for long-term and short-term traders. I don't see any major correction coming up in the market till end of this year.
You mentioned those banks that are trying to pick up. What is that trigger? What is that push that's going to get them to the levels they were at as at 2008?
Well, we're going to look at financials. If you look at financials of the banks now, they are way far better than what we had in 2008. Then we had so much hype about the whole market scenario. A lot of margin loans actually contributed. And if you notice, even from that time till date, most of them have not actually done bonuses. So, and dividends have been on the steady. It's been going higher till date. And now we are, most investors, in fact, the market is filled with now real money, unlike margin loans we had then. And the fact that the market is more controlled than local, than foreign investors who, we call it hot money. Any small information from outside, there's always a capital flight. But as it is, we can say the pension funds and the rest are actually holding most of these stocks now. And a lot of investors seem to understand the market now. And as they said, in a local way, everything seems to be going up in Nigeria in terms of inflation. So why shouldn't the stock market, why shouldn't the share price? Someone said a bag of rice about 67,000 naira now. So why shouldn't the share price have their own feel of the day?
Okay.
So that's what we are seeing now.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Abdurrashid Momo, equity trader, TRW Stockbrokers, for breaking that down and making that analysis quite clear for us. We truly appreciate it. Thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
So, Ladi, he said, why won't share prices go up? Prices of things are still going up. And then he mentioned that you know that target of 80,000.
80,000.
We're holding you to that, Ladi.
Yeah,
we're going to hit it.
It's going to happen. It's just going to take time.
No, it's not going to take time, Ladi. We're going to hit it.
Wow. Okay. I'll be waiting. Thank you so much. We'll get all the details there from the equities market. Well, let's get a check on what's happening in the UK now. Juliana joins us from our London studio. Great to have you, Juliana. Good morning. So we're seeing UK now joining a new global force to combat attacks in the Red Sea as the shipping industry fears delays at this point. We're seeing a lot right now about the Red Sea. So many delays going on at this time, and it's already impacting some markets, at this time. Tell us about this alliance. Okay, I can't seem to hear you. Juliana. We'll try and get Juliana back. At this time, we know a lot is going on in the Red Sea. At this point, and it's impacting. Oh, fantastic! I can hear you now. Right.
You can hear me now.
Fantastic.
Brilliant. You can't lip read, unfortunately. You're very skilled, but lip reading is not one of them. I know we're running out of time, but just to say yes. Yes, Britain has joined a Washington-led alliance, because you're absolutely right. It's really hotting up in the Red Sea. We've got Iranian-backed Houthi soldiers who are based in Yemen. They have launched a series of attacks on a number of shipping vessels, which is why yesterday we did hear from the leading oil giant BP that they would no longer be using that route. There is a statement from the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak's official spokesperson, basically saying that providing security advice to the shipping sector is necessary, but it is for individual companies to decide whether or not they are going to take the Red Sea route. As you quite rightly alluded to, you know, this is affecting markets. I know the price of Brent crude was up about 1 percentage point yesterday, and it does kind of give reminiscence of what happened a couple of years ago when the war in Ukraine started, and that affected energy. So yes, there is so much more to dive into on this story, but I know we're running out of time, so perhaps we can discuss it more on Biz Inc.
Right, and we see Boots, health and beauty chain, they're set to close more UK high street stores in 2024. That's looking good.
Yeah, not great, actually. And Boots, unlike other retailers, have actually been doing quite well. It is a chemist, but it also sells beauty goods. Since the pandemic, when, of course, consumer shopping habits change, I believe about 4,000 roles are gone. So this is not the first time that they're axing jobs and closing branches. I think from next year, they're going to be closing over 300 branches. Boots is no longer owned by a UK firm. It's owned by Walgreens, which is that huge American conglomerate. And there were suggestions, I think, last week that perhaps they were looking to even sell off a part of Boots if this announcement today is part of the wider story, possibly, but not great for those who have just been told they're going to lose their jobs just before Christmas.
Yeah, definitely not good for the job story at this point. Thank you so much, Joanna. It was great having you update. All right, let's get a check on the other markets now. Definitely we see Bitcoin there shining this morning. We're seeing a green move there. If you look at the screen, it's green on the screen at this point there in the crypto market from the red market we had yesterday. But we're seeing some other cryptos there like Solana, deep green, Cardano, not looking so bad there, deep green, Injective also in deep green, but we're seeing green all over the screen at this point. Let's look at the sentiment in the market now. We see 73 points. It's still a very greedy market at this time. The week before Christmas, we're still seeing greed right now at this point, showing that traders are still trying to get much more profit in this market. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies we track now. We see Bitcoin, a big bounce there, $43,974 at 8 a.m. this morning, up 4.17%, a big move up. Ethereum's also not left out, up 3.24%. But the biggest mover in the top cryptocurrencies that we track on CoinMarketCap is Cardano, 61 cents, 6.54% jump. And XRP, just a marginal rise there, 0.74%. Let's look at the top gainers now. We see Say Protocol, 32 cents. That's up 34.82%. So we're seeing a really bullish market at this point. Double-digit high-end gains for the top gainers counter. Let's bring in Rume Ofi now, financial market analyst. Hello, Rume. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry. Good morning.
Yeah, great to have you, Rume. So we're seeing some weakness, with Bitcoin over the weekend. Thinking that 40K level is going to give up at this point, but we're seeing the bulls are back, at this time. How are you seeing the market before Christmas?
All right. So what is going on now? We've been seeing some significant a drop in the market. It's quite healthy. Some of us have actually right now know where smart money is flowing into for the next bull market. Everyone is actually preparing your mind that, or maybe thinking that the bull market have started, but some of us have a contrary view, paying very close attention to the 21-day moving average. We can see that as a central point and highly important irrespective of the noise that is going on right about now. If you check the price, it goes down to 21 days moving average, go to test it, they go a bit up, and people should be very careful, I guess, to understand what this means, that going down 2%, 3% below that is a telltale signal. We might see some cool off. I won't be surprised seeing 38K thereabout, considering some of the narrative may come out very soon. The Fed meeting is also on yesterday to today. We're going to see also some shock into the market, but a cool off to about 38K. Not bad.
Right, definitely. And what are you seeing after Christmas?
So I'm looking at this whole December going to the 30s, be testing about below 40K thereabout. But now, you know, I don't like talking about price, but the reality is we're going to go to 30K, considering the fact that they might see some hiking spread. Because most times I always try to be on the opposite of the Fed decision.
Right, so definitely we're seeing Rumi going short for Bitcoin short term at this point. But looking at the bigger picture, you know, at this time, going into 2024, do you still see this bullish trend?
Yeah, so everyone sees the optimism is valid for the ETF is a very good thing. Kind of, yes, but again, like I usually say, the buy the news, buy the hype, set the news situation where people just get into it. When it gets to a particular period where the main thing is supposed to happen, they are going to sell. So if you ask me, this is what I'm looking into, not the financial advice. Where the Bitcoin ETF is approved, we're going to see a bloodbath in the market. I repeat, a bloodbath in the market. I might be wrong, but the chances are very high because a whole lot of persons are carried away that immediately the Bitcoin ETF is approved, we're going to see market going really crazy. But I think it's a way to trap a lot of liquidity and what we call exit people, funds that are getting involved to be like exit liquidity for some other persons to make money off it.
Say, after gold got that ETF, there was a massive bull run for gold, but we'll definitely be watching what happens for Bitcoin if they ever get that Bitcoin ETF. Thank you so much, Rumi Ofi, financial market analyst.
Thank you very much, Larry. Always a pleasure.
Right. All right, we look at the losers counter now. We see FTT's top line counter, single-digit loss there, 5.38%, $3.54 this morning. And we also see Lunsi, less than a penny there, just a marginal change there, 0.00. So we're seeing that there's not much losers in the top 100 coins this morning, showing that the market is still very, very, very greedy. Well, that's a wrap on the program. Don't forget, join us at 1:30 on Business Incorporated for more updates and developments in the world of business. Also visit our website, www.channelcv.com for more updates. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. And remember, if you must take profit, find the top.